Yeah, it's Shane. And I'm coming to you once again, very grateful to be coming to you once again from Nocturne Books in Calgary. Support your local independent bookstores, um,
Especially this one. It's awesome.
especially this one. This is, of course, Frank's Honor Book Society, where we read and discuss indie horror, except when we read horror by New York Times best-selling authors, apparently. Uh, so, yes, I don't know, the gratitude flows as much as the sweat because it's really hot outside. I'm here today with the one and only Craig DiLouie. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
And we're going to talk about his writing journey and about his latest release, The Summer Fun Massacre, which I burned through in record time. Uh, yeah, which is good news. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of a warm up.
Sure.
Just sort of kind of your behind the author story. When did you start writing fiction, and when did you start writing with the intent of getting published?
Well, I wanted to be a professional fiction writer since I was 9 years old.
Oh wow!
And I read these little, used to have these little Tom and Jerry pocketbooks that were about this big. And they used dialogue tags like exclaimed. And I thought, this is brilliant writing. This is
Yes.
really good writing at the age of 9. And I kind of fell in love with it. Then I fell out of love with it because when you're 9, you're what you like is the wind. So moved on to other things. And then when I was in 15, this I look like what I look like now, which is this pasty writer guy. And grew up in a rural community in New Jersey before I moved here to Canada, and on a farm. And there was and the nearest town was 3 miles away by bike, and it was like this little Andy Griffith town. And so for a guy like me, reading was really an escape,
Yeah.
huge escape. And so I ended up discovering, and me and my buddies all got into Dungeons and Dragons and all
Oh
that
yeah.
stuff. And I got into this author named Robert E. Howard and just fell in love with this guy and read pretty much every word he's ever written. I still have a box at my mother's house that's just tattered copy. They're not worth anything because they're just was so abused.
Yeah.
But like they were read so many times. But they were, yeah, all these Robert E. Howard, and he really inspired me to start writing. So I started writing, and it's like Colson Whitehead says, you read and read to find out what kind of writer you want to be, and then you write and write to
Mm-hmm.
find out what kind of writer you are. And so your first book's always you trying to be with Robert E. Howard, or who Chuck Palahniuk, or whoever your favorite author is.
Yes.
And I ended up from there, when I got out of college, I wasn't quite the guy who in the cardigan with the beard who lives in his mom's basement, because I was living upstairs in my old room. And I took a year off, so to speak. I was working as a word processor through a temp agency, but I wanted to write my version of the Great American Novel. It was an original novel about superheroes, and I almost got an agent with it. And it was a little bit before its time, before original superheroes got really big,
Right.
and just kind of missed the mark on it. I was very immature writer, and needed to keep writing and writing to find out what the writer I am.
Yeah.
But it was always something that rode my back, and ended up sticking with it over the years. And all through the 90s, it felt like I was in a Kafka novel where I got this golden invitation to join a party I wasn't allowed into.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of writers still, probably feel that way today. Um, and but I had this assembly line set up at a writer's market. I was just sending in manuscripts and letters, and finally got in with a microbrew press called Salvo Press in Oregon.
Mm.
And they published this crappy little Chuck Palahniuk wannabe kind of novel called Paranoia, about conspiracy theories. And it did okay. And then I did a sci-fi novel that did okay. And then I wrote a zombie book at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And then that exploded. I ended up with Bermuda Press, and then that's what got me into Simon and Schuster with Stuff for the Children, and then got me into Hachette. by the time my current contract's done, I'll have 11 books out with them
Oh
in the
wow.
horror
Yeah.
market. Yeah. So when did I want to be a professional writer? When I was 9. When did I really think I might be able to have a shot at this?
Yeah.
Probably with that first, novel with Salvo Press,
So, yeah.
and I owe a lot of it to the Docutech technology, which enabled on-demand printing, which enabled this revolution in small press
Right.
and democratized things. And just like self-publishing later on democratized things even more.
Mm-hmm.
And but back then it was enough to allow a guy like me in,
Yeah.
and I got my chance and was able to move up to the major league, I guess you would call it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect.
Long answer to a short question,
No,
but
no,
yeah,
no.
that's
Long answers are good. We
that's
enjoy
the life
those.
story right there in a
Yeah.
nutshell.
No, it's awesome. So I feel like community plays a big part in being an author,
Mm-hmm.
whether indie or traditionally published. Can you share a bit of how community has helped you in your journey? Because I know you're part. I guess specifically, you mentioned the number of the associations you're currently a part of.
Yep.
How has that directly affected your path?
Sure. The first community I joined was, because we're writers, we're cats,
Mm-hmm.
We just sit in the dark and type and think there's no one else,
Yeah.
and it's very lonely, but it's very satisfyingly lonely at the same time. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
But you connect with community for that first time and you're like, you like to talk about the same stuff I do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that for a whole weekend.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the best weekends of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So the first community I joined was the Imaginative Fiction Writers Association. It's this little Calgary writing group. But wow, I mean, we used to meet at the Century Box, and the upstairs room would fill with 60 people.
Yeah.
And they just have this terrific old guard of people who have been with that group for as long as I can remember,
Mm-hmm.
and still run it. And they're just wonderful people. One of them, Randy McCharles, I associate with ran When Words Collide, which is this terrific Calgary writing convention.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to StokerCon for the first time.
Yes.
And just fell in love with the horror community, whom I found extremely warm and welcoming. And by going to conventions like that, the IFWA, and then ZombieCon in Seattle and CryptoCon in Seattle, where I would go to sell zombie books,
Mm-hmm.
and rub elves with Norman Reedus from Walking Dead, and Judy, I can't remember her last name, but she played Barbara on Night of the Living Dead. You get to hang out with you get to hang out with these people, and that was a lot of fun. And then to be able to do StokerCon was just incredible because, first of all, you meet all your literary heroes. You read these people and they influenced you and they got you deeper into whatever you're doing. And then you meet them and you find out, they're just people, but that you can form a relationship with them, and they're welcoming to that, and it's absolutely wonderful. And they're also really welcoming. I kicked myself the first time I went to StokerCon because I felt like as a writer, I always felt like, there's this imposter syndrome. You always feel like I don't deserve to be here, or I don't deserve to get that, or I'm not worthy. And but I wish you don't have to have that attitude, and you don't have to be somebody before you can go to one of these cons. You should go to one of those cons and network. And the older, more veteran writers are always happy to talk to you. And I just found that I wish I'd done it sooner.
Yeah.
But one of the great things about a con is Nietzsche said one sentence can destroy your entire world and rebuild it.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
But I always took that to heart, and I always found that to be a really powerful statement. And I always looked for that statement, that sentence, that rock that would shatter my glass houses and make me see everything differently and level up. Because it doesn't take a lot to level up a lot. You're pushing against this invisible wall, and you're pushing with all your might, and then something happens and you move an inch.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I moved an inch, but you look side to side and you moved a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You have so much space.
Yeah.
And so like little sentences like, Susan Forrest once saying to me, a writer has to learn how to keep secrets, like
Mm,
meaning time your reveals. Or,
yes.
somebody said to me, suggested I read my partner, Chris Mars, another horror author, suggested I read John Truby's Anatomy of Story, and he blew my mind with lots. So you always look for
Mm,
those little takeaways that are going to rock your world and level you up as a writer, because all it takes is one little thing to change your game.
yeah, absolutely. Amazing. I mean, yeah, you're giving me a nudge through all of that.
Yeah.
Another form of community. You actually dedicated the Summer Fun Massacre to Joe McKinney.
Yes.
Can you explain how he added to that sense of community as a writer?
Yeah. Joe McKinney was someone I would read like back when the horror section at my local chapters, or Barnes and Nobles back in the day when I lived in the States. Um, there'd always, especially in chapters, there'd always be this really small horror section, and it'd be all the usuals: Dean Koontz and Anne Rice and Stephen King. And all of a sudden, I pick up this guy Joe McKinney, and
Mm-hmm.
and I always kind of liked apocalyptic fiction. I grew up in the '70s, loving disaster movies and apocalyptic movies.
Yeah.
Um, and I was really into zombies, and I always wanted to write a zombie book. So like Joe McKinney was there, and I ended up meeting this guy Dave Moody also, who was self-publishing in PDFs this series called Autumn
Yeah.
and Hater, and the I paid for the books and I didn't get the books, so I wrote to David and I said, give me the books or give me the money back. No,
Yeah.
I'm not mad, but just
Yeah.
it didn't happen. So he sent me the books, and we ended up striking up a relationship.
Hmm.
And David Moody's now a dear friend of mine. And the same thing happened with Joe McKinney. Like, he's a zombie guy I read back in the day,
Mm.
and ended up meeting at StokerCon, and we became friends. And then he and I ended up partnering together on a series called The Retreat, which is sort of like Crossed on steroids, that comic,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
real nasty. And then David Moody and I ended up collaborating on this little thing too. And so, which is about that community, your
Yeah.
heroes become your friends,
Yeah.
and uh, and Joe was just one of the guys at HWA when I walked in there, and I was like, please don't hurt me. Like, he was really cool and really nice and really welcoming, and I never forgot that. People like him and John Dixon, yeah, just really really great people. And so Joe sadly passed, and I thought, this is a book with sort of some old school roots, and that
Yeah.
I thought he would appreciate quite a bit. And so I decided to dedicate it to him. And then when the sequel comes out in November, I dedicated that one to Jack Ketchum,
Oh yeah.
another one of my heroes. I got to, I don't think he and I reached the friendship level, but we would see each other at the cons and spend a lot of time together, and
Mm.
and had these wonderful chats, and really good comrade. And
Mm.
so he's a beloved figure as well, who's missed. And so the dedications for this was to recognize community and
Yeah.
influences and the greats who came before us. We're
Absolutely.
all in a chain. None of us want to say we're derivative, but we're all derivative of this great chain of literature,
Absolutely.
going back to Gilgamesh and whatever else.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I didn't know where to throw this question, but I wanted
Sure.
to ask it. When I know an author, uh, when I read their work, I hear them like narrating the book for me. Would you ever consider narrating one of your own books?
Yeah, but it's best leave it to the
Leave it to the
pros.
pros. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I I would read it and then I'd make a mistake, and like it would take me 10 times longer than it would take a professional
Oh
narrator.
yeah.
And I've worked with some really good narrators. I've worked with R.C. Bray, who did Suffer the Children, and then he went on to do The Martian.
Oh yeah.
And then he partnered with me. He was like, hey, we should do something else. And I'm like, hey, I self-published this little submarine World War II series
Right.
called Crash Dive. And he's like, hey, I'll narrate it for you. And I'm like, hey, you publish it. I don't know anything about audiobooks. and give me half. And he's like, deal. So
Yeah.
I treated him as a publisher,
Yeah.
and my God, we sold so many books.
Nice.
And I credit a lot of that to him.
Yeah.
The series did extremely well, but man, he had his own fan base,
Yeah.
and he did. I think he sold quite a few of those copies. And then since then, Bob moved on to, like, I say bigger and better things. I mean, way bigger. Like, he's like a rock star now in the
Yeah.
audio world. So he and I haven't worked together as much, but Garrett, Michael Brown, and I is this guy who kind of discovered me on Facebook and said, I'm this earnest dude and I'm trying to break in. Can we do a deal, and let me do something for you, and let me try? And so I was like, okay. So
Yeah.
I'm looking for somebody. So he tried out, and I was like, ooh, could you do it like this instead?
Yeah.
And he's like, yes. And he did it. And I was like, A, you nailed it. And B, you take direction. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And so we've done, oh my God, we've done 8. I'm a hybrid author, so I work with Hachette, but I also do a lot of self-publishing stuff, and mostly military fiction, where I have a whole separate fan base, a whole separate world. And but he's just amazing. We've done probably 8 more than 8 books together. And I'll just keep using him just because he's fantastic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But so the answer, no, I would not. I mean, I would, but it would suck, and I would hate it.
Well, I get it from your perspective. Yes, it would be being the one to actually do it would be a chore. I wonder about, because again, so I'm not saying authors should or shouldn't.
Yeah.
But it's just sometimes when you've got a strong voice, it's like to hear it in the actual author's voice might be interesting, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think some people are born that way. They've just got that voice. Yeah. You know? And then you've got, like Stephen King, I've heard him talk. I don't know if I would want to hear him narrate a book, but then again, if I heard him narrate a book, I'd be like, Stephen King's narrating his own book.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'm at a level where people would be like, oh, Craig's narrating it, I gotta read it. Yeah. Like it's yeah. So yeah, I think my time is best spent doing what I do best than people like Garrett and R.C. Brady.
For sure, I get you.
Yeah.
So sort of adjacent, outside of writing, do you have any other creative endeavors that are important to you?
Oh God. Once I found a modicum of success in fiction, I think a lot of people like me, we start out, we'd love to be this jack of all trades. Like, I'm doing a short film, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You want to live this life of the mind, right? And then something happens and you end up, just like I started off as a sci-fi guy. I was not in horror.
Right.
Yeah. So now I'm in horror, and I'll probably, it's once you're in that, it's very hard to get to do something else. So that's why I do like the World War II, because I'm a history buff.
Yeah.
So I do the World War II stuff on the side, the fiction. Those books sell extremely well. There's such a great fan base there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, creative endeavors, once I started getting any success with writing, it sort of sucked everything else into it. Like, how could I be better at this? And how could I write more and be more efficient? And, I used to write a book every 2 years, and I wrote a book every year. Now I can write a book every 2 months, I think, if I had to.
Yeah. Well, how many, because you've, I'm absolutely not trying to dismiss anything, but how many books do you have?
A lot, yeah.
Because I
probably
know
over 35.
I saw your bookshelf and I'm like, I forgot to count, but I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I probably have 30 more than 35 titles. I honestly lost count. I don't.
So that's a testament to the amount of work that you've put into this.
Yes, and it's labor and efficiency. So you do what you can. You put in the hours, because writing is labor intensive and there's no way out of that. But you can be efficient. So I'm more of a plotter than a pantser, and I internalize a lot of things about the story, so I can write it once, do an edit, and then I'm done.
Right.
Instead of like revise, which I used to do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. No, that's awesome. Yeah. I guess a little bit more about creative process. and I feel weird asking you about this being at the level you are in the game, but with everything that's evolved with writing and publishing, is there anything that you're good at, but that you absolutely don't like doing?
Um, yeah, I don't know if there's anything I don't like doing. Um,
Well, obviously, you're doing a lot of it, so there would be. You think it would be easy to pick out if there was some part of the process where you're like, yeah, no.
well, there's always that stuff like, the, you know, and it, ironically, because we're sitting here, but like stuff like the more of the social aspect of it, where
Right.
you feel like you're marketing yourself.
Hmm.
Um, that is, you feel like a little bit exposed. Also, when the book comes out, uh, you know, just stay away from your reviews. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just an emotional roller coaster. And
Hmm.
that's the thing about publishing that is probably the hardest for me. Like coming up with ideas, I have, you know, there's a prejudice in our society that writing is some skill you're born with.
Yeah.
And to an extent, that's true. We all have cognitive abilities. We all have the brain speech centers in the brain, but we don't look at someone, a kid picking up a violin, and say, "What? You can't play Mozart? You
Yes.
suck. You suck at
Yeah.
this." No, it's the same thing with writing. They found that in writers they would scan their brains and do the whole thing, and they found that in professional writers who did the whole Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
that their brains were rewired to be
Yeah.
writers and
Yeah.
creative. The same way a basketball player, his brain, her brain, is rewired
Hmm.
to shoot hoops. The same thing with writers. You just keep doing it over and over again, and it becomes a survival trait. Like you become really good
Yeah.
at it,
Yeah.
and your brain actually rewires for it. So I would say, at this point, uh, my brain is rewired for this.
Hmm.
I've just done it so much.
Hmm.
So none of it's really. I can come up with ideas. I can write books. I can write books quickly,
Hmm.
and with a good quality. They don't take a huge amount of editing.
Yeah.
But then there's that whole feeling of being exposed when the book actually comes out. It's just I just end up hiding a
Yeah.
little bit. I do all this. I talk to people, and I did a wonderful book launch and
Hmm.
all the other stuff, but just kind of stay away from online.
Oh,
you know?
and that's understandable for sure.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Because it can lift you up and it can get you down. Like, yeah, all the it's
In a
it's a
split
weird
second.
feeling.
Yes.
It's a very weird exposed feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Do you keep your reader or a specific reader in mind when you write, or are you writing for yourself?
Yeah, yeah. I write for a reader. Kind of write for myself.
Hmm.
I like books. What sells is familiar with a twist. Okay,
Right.
that's the only thing that's going to get published, and it's the only thing, honestly, it's going to sell.
Hmm.
You look at Amazon and you say, back in this when self-publishing was coming on, I looked through all the titles and I was like, Amazon's going to be this amazing incubator of original crazy ideas, and
Hmm.
I want to see what's going on. What kind of ideas are people coming up with? And I'm like, plot number 4 and plot number 5, plot number 6. um and I'm sorry, and the question again was?
Oh, sorry. Like, do you have a reader or your
Right.
reader, your
So
typical reader in mind?
right. So I wanted to write for that guy who was
Hmm.
looking for something a little different,
Yeah.
where it was more twist than familiar, or it was more balanced.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I can tell you though, I've sort of carved out my own little niche in horror. I think by being that guy,
Yeah.
I think that people know what to expect when they read my stuff. That's not going to be like the last book they read. If I read a haunted house book, it's not going to be like the last haunted house
Yeah.
book they read. If they're going to read a slasher, this is a different kind of slasher.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, so I sort of write for that. Like, there, I think every author writes a book that they always wanted to read,
Yeah.
and a book that was always resting and somewhere in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you, you probably sell more books if you just put yourself out of it and just write for that got that common denominator.
Yeah.
And but as at a certain point you have to say, am I commercial fiction guy or am I an artist?
Well,
You're
that's
never
fair.
you're never one or the other.
Yeah.
But am I more this or am I more that, or how much of one do I have to give up to be the other?
Right.
I guess is the question. So I try and keep. I end up satisfying myself as an artist, and sometimes I probably give up readers that way. But
Yeah.
the readers I do have, hopefully are happy with,
Oh, yeah.
that they're getting something a little different and surprising.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So maybe we sort of went over this, but how did you define success for yourself as a writer when you first started? And how are you defining success these days?
I always defined, I grew up before Docutech, small press,
Mm-hmm.
self-publishing. I grew up back in the day when it was Subsidy and Vanity Press, and they were
Right.
the bad guys. They were bad guys,
Yeah.
um, or they weren't bad guys, but they would try and sell you this idea you were going to get all this distribution you were never going to get, and you were
Mm-hmm.
just going to pay them a lot of money.
Yeah.
Um, so it was a bit of a rip off, unless you wanted the books and you were going to go sell them yourself.
Right.
So back then, because I grew up in the 80s and 90s, my definition of success was always to see my name on a spine in a book in a bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Suffer the Children came out, um, you know, it was a bad deal.
Mm.
It was such a mess. My agent, what was going on with the publisher, the
Oh.
contract I got was draconian.
Mm.
The advance, it just had a lot of weird things going on, and which is nothing against Simon a Gallery or Simon and Schuster, wonderful, but like there's a lot of weird things going on, and it was a bad deal. And you know what they say in business: if you want a deal bad enough, you get a bad deal. But I knew that writing for me was always a long game.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be the only book I ever wrote,
Mm-hmm.
and if I could just get covers and get a little distribution, make a little name for myself,
Yeah.
maybe I could work my way up. And that's exactly how it worked out. So my definition of success was not the big advance, was not, you know, New York Times accolades or anything like that. It was just see my name,
Yeah.
dream come true. Then ended up new agent, ended up with Hachette,
Mm-hmm.
and got to live that dream, and then got to foray into self publishing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I'm kind of, I feel like I have all the success someone could ever want. Like, no, I'm not Stephen King or anything like that, but I'm very happy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
mid-list horror author. Like, to me, life is good. But then again, success would be, it's always good to be aspirational.
Yeah.
Purpose gives meaning and drive.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would love to do is find a way to be even more efficient,
Mm.
and either, break into a second market like sci-fi, which I always wanted to do,
Right.
or find a way to write more of the World War II fiction or
Mm-hmm.
military fiction, and get that going, so that in the future, uh, because I split my day between fiction and my day job. I work at home
Yep.
in my pajamas, so like I get up, I commute to the coffee maker, and I start writing.
Yes.
And a very lucky man. And then I'm writing, about the lighting industry. I do education.
Yes.
I have like a lighting design credentials. I'm an English major with it. It's just how it worked out.
Yeah.
And really love that industry, and they're great people and stuff. But I would love to just say goodbye to it and just do fiction full
Yeah.
time. So I guess that would be my aspirational
Okay.
definition of success in the future.
Nice. Okay. Let's talk a little bit specifically about the Summer Fun Massacre.
Sure.
I'll give a little bit of the blurb. It's 1992, and in the heat of Texas, Camp Summer Fun rests by a crystalline lake surrounded by a shady forest. The counselors have set out the kayaks, prepped the kitchens, and refurbished the cabins. Now, on the night before camp begins, a bonfire and the teenage counselors' rites of passage await. But the camp has a horrifying history. In the 80s, there was a massacre that left a sole survivor, one final girl, the killer never caught. Can we start with Deputy Tom Bailey? Uh, can you share a little bit about why it was important to have redemption as a major part of his story?
Because the okay, so there's the classic um, summer camp slasher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I grew up with these in the '80s. So Friday the 13th was one of the first, horror movies I saw in the theater,
Yep.
and in almost every one of these movies, you have lots of these tropes, right? Especially in the meta phase of the
Mm.
slasher trend. We're all aware of these tropes, and Scream, they actually list them.
Yes, yes.
And one of its most venerable tropes is the deputy who shows up too late to do anything except bear witness.
Mm-hmm.
And he works for the sheriff who doesn't believe the kids when they're screaming for help. And so I was talking to my partner Chris Mars and about how to come up with horror ideas, and so many tropes are practically every one of them's in some type of meta phase.
Mm.
And so because they're all done. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, and I was using an example of inverting tropes,
Right.
like, Wicked is, Wizard of Oz, but it's told from the Wicked Witch's point of view.
Yes.
And I said, what if you did a slasher from the deputy's point of view, for example? And then I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wait a second, I think that's actually could be a good story. Like, so you take Friday the 13th, for example, and cross it with like a True Detective, where you have the deputy who shows up too late, and now he's trying to solve it. To him, it's a crime,
Yeah.
and he doesn't know if there's this Jason, and if Jason is the mom or Jason's a supernatural creature in the
Yeah.
woods, or to him it's a who done it.
Yeah.
So he wants to try and solve it. So he ends up teaming up with his ex girlfriend, who is the prior massacre's final girl,
Yes.
and part of his redemption is not only he showed up too late and couldn't save these kids,
Mm-hmm.
and so he feels partly responsible for that, but 10 years earlier when he was a teen and his girlfriend was a teen and a counselor, she almost died and was the
Yes.
final girl. And then he felt terrible about that. He wasn't there. And so the whole two books in the duology is him trying to get redemption for that.
Mm-hmm.
This deputy who's has this really strong sense of justice that's largely informed by TV shows he likes,
Yes.
and who believes that's the way it works with cops, and
Yeah.
that's the way we're supposed to be. And so in his mind, and that if the cop does the job right, there is justice. The
Mm-hmm.
world is level,
Yeah.
and everything is in balance,
Yeah.
and that's what's important to him.
Mm-hmm. So you did. Oh, sorry. Was he the first character that you came up with when the idea of the story came to you, or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the
the lead.
first. I had to get him right, so I needed a deputy
Mm.
Dewey,
Yes.
but I didn't want him to be cute and bumbling. I
Yeah.
wanted him to be earnest, and he thinks when he walks in with the badge, he's the guy, and but he keeps running up against this killer that makes him feel like a clown, like in a costume, like
Yeah.
just makes a mockery of his capabilities and his authority and
Yes.
everything he believes in. And but that was so. I wanted to tell that guy's story of you're the guy you're the cop who takes it very seriously, and you showed up too late.
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna do about it?
Mm-hmm.
And now you can try and solve the crime. But the sheriff doesn't want the crime solved. He doesn't
Yeah.
care, like, because he's up for reelection. He needs this solved yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
there's a harbinger who tried to warn the kid. There's all sorts of different tropes in here, and he's up against a lot more than just the killer. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
Oh, absolutely. You mentioned Mary, not by name, but Mary is Tom's ex. She is the lone survivor of the '83 massacre.
Yes.
Um, a lot of her story is about, I mean, it is survival, being
Yeah.
the final girl. Although at the end of this book, there's a little unknown, and we're not going to give any spoilers away. But did you approach the idea of the final girl in maybe a different way, like you did with Tom's story?
Yeah. I wanted to explore. There are actually two final girls in the book. The first one is Mary from the 1983 massacre.
Yeah.
That was Tom's girlfriend at the time, and they ended up splitting up. And then he became a deputy. And then there's the 92 massacre, where the sole survivor is Laura Turner,
Mm-hmm.
who survives and goes on actually into the sequel with a very prominent role.
Yes.
And shares the limelight with Tom, the
Mm-hmm.
narrative limelight, so to speak. But with Mary as the final girl, yeah, I wanted to explore that trope. So you're a teen, your friends are getting slaughtered, you're on the radio with sheriffs, and you're screaming for help, and the
Mm.
sheriff never shows up and says, you kids, stop fooling around.
Yeah.
Just like in all the movies. What would that do to her psyche? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it. I love the idea in horror of looking at the aftermath. What happens after? Prince Charming fights the dragon. Does he have PTSD after that? That affects his relationship with the
Yeah.
princess. Is he okay? Was he scared of fire? I'm curious about things like that. I like that
Well,
fascinates me.
and it's funny how that's never approached, like that. It's never brought up.
Sometimes, like if you look at Mike Flanagan's The Haunting of Hill House,
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
all about trauma.
Oh, fair.
and
Yes.
and Keelan Patrick Burke, who's one of my heroes,
Yeah.
actually with slasher, he did a more with like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre type of slasher,
Yeah.
but he did a book called Kin
Yes.
that I was just in love with
Yeah.
because it was so cool. Like it was like, what happens after? You
Yeah.
see Leatherface dancing around with the chainsaw. What
Yes.
happens? And she's like screaming and laughing in stereo on the truck.
Yeah.
Finally getting away. What happens to her now?
Yeah.
So I'm she's no Mary knows she's marked by the killer. She thinks the killer's coming back for her.
Mm-hmm.
She says the killer is a supernatural thing in the woods,
Mm-hmm.
and she hates the sheriff's guts. So
Mm-hmm.
we have and she actually bumps into the sheriff at a funeral, and like their confrontation is almost like yin and yang, like
Yeah.
almost like mythical.
Mm-hmm.
The sheriff who's like almost patting her on the head and thinking
Yes.
everything's fine. Like, look, you should be happy we caught the killer, and she's
Yeah.
like, you let my friends die. She's never gonna let it go,
Yeah.
and knows how to hold a grudge. I mean, this is a girl who fought all night and survived
Mm-hmm.
against something much stronger than her and faster than her.
Yeah.
She's a survivor,
Mm-hmm.
and she knows how to hold a grudge. So
Oh, she does.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So that all plays into this. So I found her to be as fascinating, almost like a femme fatale for Tom, as Tom was as the protagonist.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. So in the acknowledgments, you mentioned how creative ideas, or all creative ideas, have some sort of catalyst.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst behind the hungry hare?
Okay. Yeah. I asked. I told my partner Chris. I said, I need something scary, but a little off kilter,
Yeah.
folklorish, something that hasn't been done to death, and something that wouldn't be something you would see in a movie. Like I like something that belies something else. It makes it
Yes.
even creepier. And Chris is like, well, what about a hare? It makes a really weird scream. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, the hungry hare. And then came up with a whole folklore around it. And there's
Yes.
a song people sing, and children sing in
Yes.
the town.
Yes.
Um, Almost like their parents were subconsciously warning them about it going in the woods.
Like most fairy tales, it's like a warning, but you don't really see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
stories that either something is terrible about a place and it creates this. It might create the story, or
yeah,
um, yeah. So yeah. So the Hungry Hare, uh, you think, and Tom thinks like it's just a silly rural legend,
yes,
but then when he actually meets it,
yeah.
it's like something else
Very,
entirely.
very different. Very different.
And it's a, it's a surprise to the reader, like that is creepy AF,
Yeah.
like the way it's portrayed. And rabbits, like when they um and this is why she recommended me look at rabbits, because rabbits, when they she said rabbits when they scream, it sounds like a human screaming in reverse.
Yes.
And I actually listened to a video, and I was like, I was disturbed. And and yeah, and I thought, oh my god, like, yeah, imagine hearing that, and you're
Oh,
trapped in
that
a
would be,
cabin under
yeah,
siege by this thing,
yeah.
this killer, and you hear that coming through the windows. Yeah,
That would be a
totally.
lot for sure.
Yeah.
So as the plot progresses in the book, you weave in a lot of uncertainty,
Hmm.
like a lot.
There's a lot
Um,
of red herrings. Yeah.
a lot of red herrings. So yeah, who the killer is, why they're doing it. Um,
Yes.
just when you, because I always, I don't know if it's because I write, but it's always like, oh, I follow the thread. And I'm like, oh, it's probably them. It's probably them. And I was
Yeah.
wrong like 4 times. So it is what it is. Is this type of, I guess, the red herring story? Is that something you enjoy writing, or
Oh, I don't. It's the first time I've ever done something like this. But
is
then
it?
again, I've never written something that was horror meets mystery,
Right.
or with a hint of police procedural. There's
Yeah.
the thing about this book is that because you're seeing the aftermath of Friday the 13th through a police officer who's earnestly trying to investigate it
Yeah.
as a crime.
Yeah.
And so he is going to follow, every lead and
Mm-hmm.
tug those threads until there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing there, or he finds something.
Yeah.
And so you go along with that with Tom through discovery,
Mm-hmm.
and to find out who it is, and someone who is hiding in plain sight. And
Yes.
so I think the reader will be surprised but not surprised by the ending,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought just makes it just delicious. It just makes it a really nice, fun ending. Like, oh yes, like,
Yes.
I think there's it's even a little bit cathartic for the reader. I mean, that's the intent
Yeah.
anyway.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
but that's what the experience I was picturing for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Uh, you don't have to name names. Again, I'm not here to do any, like, give away any spoilers, but were there any characters that you were sad to have ended their stories the way that you did?
Um.
Because I mean, it's a slasher. A lot of people die.
Yeah. Um. Uh. uh yeah. It's really because
Or the reverse. Was there
most.
anybody you were like, thank goodness I finally had the chance to get rid of you?
Yeah. I would say no. Everybody. It was their time.
Yes, and they all met their time in very interesting ways.
Yeah, and I would say each earned their death, like a
Yes,
good death.
yes.
I'm not saying as people, but some of them as people, but as
One or two.
as characters, I
Yeah,
think they earned. Everybody got what they got, and
fair
yeah,
enough.
yeah,
Fair enough. So at the end of Summer Fun, of course, you are setting things up, I think, for a healthy dose of revenge. Uh, Again, no spoilers, but what can you share about part two, which is coming out in November?
yes. So the first book again is more like I said, like a mystery slash police procedural
Mm-hmm.
meets Friday the 13th, like the aftermath of Friday the 13th,
Mm-hmm.
and then so at the end the killer's unmasked,
Yes.
and so now in the sequel, Tom returns, and Laura is now it's sometime later,
Mm-hmm.
and I can say that Laura it takes the job of
Yes.
a deputy,
Yes.
and I can say that without any messing anything up in the first one at the ending. And together they're now going to have to face the killer.
Right.
And so this, whereas the first one's more like the aftermath of Friday 13th, the second one is more like The Fog, one of my favorite Carpenter movies,
Yeah.
where there's this idea of a cursed town that is getting what it's coming to it.
Okay.
And that, so it's a, there's one of the fun things about working with Tom is he's so interested in justice, but so is horror. Horror loves justice.
Yeah.
We love when you make a mistake and you get really, you pay for it like something out of a Greek myth.
Yes.
And we just love that. And that's what is going to happen. So
yeah.
So a lot of people get stabbed in the face in the sequel. There's a lot more action and blood and guts, and it's crazy. It's more straight up survival horror.
Okay.
And like an all out war. And then it brings so they're two complete stories, but together they're a duology that tell Tom's arc, redemption arc.
Yes.
And at the end, by the end of the second one, everything wraps up, and the second one pays off on all the lore that was set up in the first one, and the folklore and the legends and the history of the town, and everything else is explained. And you get to go to places you didn't get to go in the first one. So I'm real excited for the second one to come out. And when I was very happy, because I love my editor, I pitched it to him, and I pitched Summer Fun to him, and he loved it because he's always looking for something a little different.
Yeah.
And he said, so I guess he's my ideal reader. If you get
there you go. Yeah.
The guy who says yes or no.
Yes.
But he said, he's like, okay, well, we have this 3-book thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm what they call a stable writer. I'm in the stable at Hachette for horror. And he's like, so here's 3 books, and okay, and I'm like, this is really 2 books, and he's like, okay, and I said, yeah, and here's the second one, here's the first one. He says, okay, but if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right, and because I almost didn't want to pitch it to him because I just think it's the death of series to have books come out a year apart,
right?
And then if the first one does okay or does well, but isn't amazing, the second one is like, what's going on?
Yeah, for sure.
It can fall flat. So he said, so luckily, one, this is doing well. USA Today bestseller, and that which was wow. And then the second thing was in the fall. He said, we're going to put the books out almost back to back. So like they're only a couple months apart. So in November, the sequel comes out.
Yeah.
The covers tie in, the titles tie in, everything ties in together. And I was like, oh my God, this music's my ears.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is wonderful. And so, I was really, really happy about it.
Nice.
How not just that Hachette said yes, but how they wanted to approach it.
Well, because when I look at, not that this is rapid release necessarily, but for it to only be a few months apart, it feels more of like an indie situation. So that the traditional publishers latching onto that. I mean, it's I think you're right though. It's the right way to do it.
Yeah, and it keeps it fresh for the reader. They don't have to wait. They don't move on to other things.
Yeah.
And then it also signals to the reader we believed in this.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, it did so well. Craig wanted my cash, so he cranked out a sequel.
Yes.
Like I didn't want, I don't want people thinking that either.
No,
so like,
no.
Yeah. So I was like, I think people look at it and say, yeah, this has integrity. First of all, he's not trying to turn this into 10 books.
Yeah.
He's like 2 books tell a complete story. Each book is complete, but they together tell another complete story.
Yes.
That is combined. And so far people are in for it. So I'm happy with it.
I guess we haven't mentioned the name. It's the Yule Day Slaughter.
Yes,
or
the Yule Day Slaughter.
Yule Day Slaughter and it is coming in November.
Which shows you the influence of the publisher, because my title was the deputy and the sheriff. That was going to
Oh
be my
yeah,
titles, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And then the publisher was like, excuse me, Bradley has a marketing team, and the marketing team chimes in, and they're like, we want something a little more grabby.
yeah,
How about the Summer Fun Massacre?
yeah.
I'm like,
Well, that's when you read the title, you know what's going to happen.
yeah, I'm
So, I
like,
mean, well, you don't know what's going to happen, but
yeah,
you know what you're in
I'm like,
for.
yeah, it
So,
works. That works, and it definitely grabs people. I
yeah,
mean, look at the
absolutely.
cover; it's crazy.
Yeah,
And so,
no, it's
yeah,
amazing.
and yeah, and the cover was done by Lisa Marie Pompilio. She did a fantastic job with it. It has that retro look to it,
Yeah,
80s horror look to it, and yeah, and just happy with the whole production. It just came out really well.
absolutely.
And also he let me write a shorter book. Like I've always written these big books, and
Yes.
he's like, make it bigger, bigger, bigger. Like
Yeah, yeah,
they like to, you know, almost like they would have this little bit of a literary bent where they're like, it's really explore the
yeah,
characters and stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna write this one short and sweet and
yeah,
punchy and like just not let up. Like you never
absolutely.
let up. You
Oh
get to
no,
breathe, but you're not off the bus ever. The
absolutely.
bus keeps moving, and that's so I kind of like that about this one.
Oh
You know,
yes,
I was reading Tremblay's horror movie, and it was
right.
I was like, I was talking to Paul at a StokerCon. I was like, how many words was that? And he's like 70,000. I'm like, I would love to write a 70,000 word horror novel, and I did. And this is like 75.
Okay, yeah,
But you know, so I was very happy
yeah,
to be able to give somebody like just in and out, bam, you know, a
yeah,
real just we're gonna take you on a ride,
absolutely.
and no, you can breathe, but we're not getting off the bus.
No, well, punchy, I think, is the best word for it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a fan of shorter books because I it's my own thing. I don't think I can read fast enough, but I was given a very short timeline, so I'm glad it wasn't twice the size because I may not have finished
yeah,
it for this interview. But
yeah.
yes. So what comes? Obviously, Yule Day Slaughter in November. If we
Yes.
haven't mentioned it a few times, what comes after that for you? Are you going to focus, or do you have any of the indie military books in the works, or is there something else in the?
Well, first I have my next Hachette title coming out next June.
Oh, already.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, if you're writing books every few months, then I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's once a year, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
duology was the anomaly,
Yes.
so it was just made it 6 months apart. But
Okay.
yeah, next June there's a novel. I just saw there's the cover reveals coming any minute now.
Mm.
I just saw the cover. So I'm pretty, and there's an announcement happening. So I guess I can share this. Yeah, it's called People with Taste, and so picture, uh, you know, the menu or the bear
Mm-hmm.
meets Tenders of Flesh. So
Yes, please. Okay.
yeah, so it's like you can see where that's going,
Yeah.
but in this fine dining atmosphere. But again, there's a whole lore to it. There's a reason why the horror is happening. Um, and there's an artistry and a skill to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
so, there's like this culinary artistry and this really grisly
Mm-hmm.
subject matter, and this guy caught in the middle of it, this chef who wants to be a greater chef,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, and it's a lot of fun. It was really fun, and it'll make you hungry even and probably turn you off to food for a while at the same time.
At the same time,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Awesome.
I had a
Well,
blast writing that one. It was so fun.
yeah.
Um, and I'm waiting for edits to come back from Bradley on that. But yeah, that comes out next June, and then after that, I have two more books in the current contract, and then
Right.
you know another contract after that.
Yes.
I'll write, you know, uh, I'll write till I'm dead,
Yeah.
basically. You know, until people stop paying me to do it or wanting, and even then, I'll keep writing probably.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then other than that, I have at a certain point, it's what you do. You know, it's
Yes.
like it's a scary like that's why AI is so terrifying to me. It's like,
Yeah.
but this is like the one thing I do. You know, um, for fun as well as for money. You know,
Right.
so please don't take away my purpose, Meta.
It's yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Exactly.
otherwise, I have a kind of a literary military history novel, Dien Bien Pho, which is about the siege that ended French rule in Indochina.
Mm.
It's one of those. I'm a big history buff, and one of those, and I love military history. And so Dien Bien Pho was one of those battles that that you think you know about, and then you do a little reading and you're like, I knew nothing about this.
Yeah.
This is awesome. And the battle itself is 56-day siege in northern Vietnam. I mean, it was like made for Hollywood. So many cinematic moments.
Mm.
The horror, the courage, the spirit of just on both sides, like the North Vietnamese, the Viet Minh, and the French and their allies. Like, it was just an incredible battle. So very
Mm.
complicated battle too. It was hell to get the history right.
Oh yeah.
And despite some really good scholarship by several people who wrote books on it, um, but yeah, I ended up writing this mosaic novel. Each chapter is a different point of view.
Mm.
It takes you into the gun pits with the artillery and the plane cockpits and the trenches with the Foreign Legion, French Foreign Legion, and
Oh geez.
yeah, just in the headquarters, and you're just everywhere on the M24 tanks. They actually flew tanks to there, and
Oh
disassembled and reassembled them.
yeah.
Yeah, it was just an amazing battle and so pivotal in history because it ended French rule in Indochina. Then it ended the French Empire around the world.
Mm.
And it showed, uh, countries in the developing world or the colonized world that, like, hey, they can lose, we can win.
Yeah.
And it just totally changed the world. And yeah, so anyway, I think uh, that's up for pre-order on Amazon right now. And
Oh okay.
yeah, and then I'm working on uh, two sequels to Hell's Eden, which is a novel about these rascally Marines in World War II in the Pacific. The
Mm.
first novel was called Hell's Eden about Guadalcanal, and
Okay.
so I'm writing the next two now.
Oh nice.
Yep, always be writing, I guess, is the rule.
Well, that's again a lesson for me, I suppose. Okay, what are the best avenues for people to find you? Website, social media, anything you want to point toward?
Well, if you're interested in my work, any bookstore
Yeah,
has it. Usually in the horror
especially
section.
Nocturne Books in Calgary.
Yeah, I'm over here.
It is real.
And
I'm staring at your books
and
right
quite
now.
a few are signed.
Yes.
So that you can get a signed copy. And then yeah, and then your local library if that's your thing, and
Yes.
or online retailers. My self-published stuff. If you're watching this and saying, yeah, okay, horror, but I love military fiction, historical fiction. I'm almost exclusively on Amazon, and I would say exclusively on Amazon.
Mm.
Lots of books there, like submarines. Uh, I did a series about a Sherman tank crew, like all sorts of stuff. They've done
Mhm.
really well. And if you want to say hi, just my website's craigdilouie.com, and I'm on Facebook. I don't do a lot of social media. I kind of hate it right now, but but I'm on Facebook, and just friend me up, and I'd be happy to be your Facebook friend.
There you go. Awesome. Just in closing, can you give us two or three maybe horror books that you think everybody should read?
uh, yeah. Uh, let's see. By Wounds by
Is it Adam?
Wounds
I
by
have the book.
Yeah. Do they?
I've no. Well, I've got the book.
Oh, you have the book.
I can. I'll make sure to post up all the
Oh my god, I
information.
can't believe
Wounds. It's the kind of the
it's a bunch of short
novellas
stories.
and short stories.
Yeah,
Yes,
about this
yes.
mythology of hell.
Mm.
And he went on to and one of the books was made into a movie.
That's right. Yes.
So I remember everything about it now except his name.
Except his name.
Nathan Ballingrad.
Oh, Ballingrad.
Ballingrad or something.
Something close.
Yeah, something like that.
We'll figure it out. Yes.
And sorry, Nathan. I'm trying, but you do these interviews and like your mind just goes whoop.
Yeah.
Like you try and remember some detail, like it's not happening.
Yeah.
But everything else just flows out of your mouth. But anyway, yeah, Wounds. It's amazing, man. I mean, talk about being surprised.
Yeah.
It was like nothing familiar. Everything surprising. Every page surprising. I loved it. Absolutely loved Wounds. It's about this mythology of hell that he just reinvents. In fact, if they have it here, I'm going to buy it. It's just got to have it for my shelf.
Yeah.
And let's see, another one not too many people know about. It's The Descent by Jeff Long.
Hmm.
and it's kind of looks at this mythology of hell again, but demons and horns and pitchforks, and it's like, what if those were real creatures that have always been among us and they live underground? And
Mm.
so it's about this discovery of this world underneath ours, and there's an expedition, and it's sort of like, it's got horror, it has adventure, it has this lost world kind of thing going on with it. That guy, he wrote a couple books and then he stopped, and I'm mad at him because he should have kept going. I
Yes.
mean, I don't know his business, but
Yeah.
as a reader, I'm mad at him, I guess. I would love to have seen him do a whole lot more. um, Trying to think of some other ones. uh, I loved Hater by David Moody.
Hmm.
um, there's this twist near the end that just is killer. uh, you completely change your allegiances in the book. Everything you were invested in the book completely changes
Oh,
in
okay.
this one moment.
Yeah.
And I can't do it without spoiling, but it was just such a great moment.
Oh.
And I think that book was picked up by Guillermo del Toro. This is the guy with the PDFs
Yes, yes,
that I
that's
ended up
right. Yeah, yeah.
screwed up sending me the PDFs, and like I was like, hey, and we end up friends.
Yeah.
He ends up with St. Martin's, with the whole Hater series, and
Hmm.
then the whole Autumn series came out with
Right.
zombies. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't be happier for the guy. Like,
Yeah.
really, if you like zombie books and you're looking for something familiar with a twist, with a really big twist,
Yeah.
like, yeah, check out any of his fiction.
Nice.
Another author I'd love to call out too, just while I'm on the subject, Andrew Sullivan
Hmm.
is another guy I like. Um, he did the Marigold, which is sort of like sentient pollution underneath Toronto, sort of
Oh,
like rotting, the whole city's rotting in on itself.
right.
And I just love that perspective, and thought it was very clever. And I got to read something I hadn't read before. Like,
Hmm.
please give me that, and I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
I'm really grateful that we could set this up and that you could come and have a chat. And yeah, congratulations on
Right
the
on, man.
book.
Thank you.
Thank you again. The Summer Fun Massacre. Go find it everywhere, and please go find it, especially at wonderful indie bookstores like Nocturne Books in Calgary. The team here is amazing. So, yes, thank you for watching. This will be the August 2026 edition of Frank's Haunted Book Society. I am grateful for everybody who's giving us a view. Give us some likes, follows. Where are we at? Frank has a Substack. You can also follow Pencil on Paper on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. And we're going to wrap it up. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you. We'll see you soon.